This is the 17th season of Bass Talk Live with your hosts, Mark Jeffries and Matt Pingrak. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Bass Cat Boats, APCO, Ducket Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Yamagatsu, The Bass Tank, and Denali Rods. BTL coming at you. Good Tuesday, everybody. Welcome once again to another edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we're going to talk bass fishing and anything else that we want to talk about. Yes, it is a three-screen shot right there, folks. Ken Duke, our special guest host today, and then Matt is live trying to get ready for the open there on Douglas Lake. Matthew, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good, Mark. Ken, how are you guys doing this morning?
Doing good. Ken,
man.
Thanks for filling in for Matt. We got a great show today, man. We're going to have Jason Christie on, and then we're going to have Fletcher Shryock on in the second half of the show. But right now, man, the focus is on you, Matt. We had a great show last night. How's this morning been so far?
It's been good. It's been pretty slow. Like I said, I had never been to this lake other than when I covered Jeremy Stark's long lining extravaganza back in the day. And I mean, I remember kind of watching Britt Myers at some and Jeremy Starks at some. The lake is totally different than it was then. And I mean, it's real interesting. Like I said last night, it's not that far from Cumberland where I've had a lot of success, but the fluctuation, like the continuous fluctuation, is crazy here, like in these kind of East Tennessee lakes. So you have to do a lot of like maps and research and stuff to figure out like if the bank you're on is just like crap underneath it, or if the rock continues to go out, or if the rock is only 2 foot in the water and then it drops and it's gone. So, and then there's a whole bunch of different kind of rock that we don't have in Oklahoma. So instead of, like pea gravel and boulders and table rock and all the stuff that you're used to, there's a bunch of like kind of shelf rock, and I call it like cathedral rock, and different colors, a lot of different colors of rock, and the gravel's a little different. So everything is very familiar with the rock fishing in Oklahoma, but drastically different at the same time. So just trying to figure out how it all plays into and how those fish react to the moving water and the bait reacts to the changing conditions.
All right, real quick, Ken, I have a question, then I'll shoot it to you if you want to ask Matt anything. Matt, I didn't ask you and Brad this last night, but is this going to be an event where you're going to be able to do the same thing all 3 days? Or are you going to have to make adjustments through the 3 days?
I think it depends on how much the river plays and if there's water in the river here. Like, I mean, if it continues to drop, that's going to be dry. You might get a day or two out of that. But I'm trying to find something that I can just kind of rely on for 2 days, because it's hard to make adjustments on a fishery that you're not very familiar with.
Yeah. All right, Ken, you got anything for Matt?
Always have questions for Matt. Matt, you're coming into this tournament, didn't have a great debut this season. How does that change your mindset? How does that change your establishing goals for this one?
It doesn't at all. Like, I mean, if you can do you have to catch a limit. So it doesn't matter what you did in the previous one. You have to figure out how to catch a limit. If you go back and you can look statistically in the opens, I would love to hear what your stats are on that. But if you go back and look at what 10 to 12 pound limit every single day of the opens will do, I think you'd be surprised at how many checks you catch and how high you finish in the tournaments. Now, yeah, you're going to be maybe 20 pounds off the leader in some of these and not even sniffing a top 10. But man, actually, like, that seems like that 11.5 to 12 pound mark, because now you're up over a little bit of a 2-pounder. You're catching a kicker. You don't even have to. Oh my God, here comes Bradley Hallman.
Right on cue.
Right on cue. But yeah, I mean, so it doesn't change at all. My goal the whole year is try to figure out how to catch 10, 11 pounds in every day. And that's not punting. That's a solid deal. Pull up next to me, Brad. I'm on BTL.
This was not planned, folks. Not at all.
Oh,
I'm with
you
you,
even
man.
want to go a step further? He's got the BFE tied on.
Does he really? This really was not planned.
What up? No, it was not planned.
Well, how's the morning, Bradley?
In the middle of the lake, and I was like, "Hey, I know that guy." Doing good. How y'all doing this morning?
Doing good, man. So far, so good on the final full day of practice.
Oh yeah. So far, so good. I finally pulled a jerk bait out, which is, I guess, what you got to do in the clear water to get a couple of bites. But yeah,
You got bit on it?
yeah, I got bit on that.
Oh my God. We're gonna have to talk off air.
Yeah, talk off air, Matt. Talk off air.
All
Are
right.
you freaking serious? You did so much time on that.
Here, I'll give you guys panger back. I just pulled up to talk
Don't leave.
fishing.
Yeah.
Don't leave. We gotta have a conversation after this.
All right, man. We're gonna let you go. Ken and I got we got to get ready for our first guest, Jason Christie here. But good stuff, man. It looks like great weather. Get a full day in, man. Do what you need to do to catch them, and then we will talk in the morning.
The more merch you buy, the more fish Brad and I catch.
Yeah. Don't forget about the merch.
Speaking of the merch, during that little break between our last conversation and then when we actually went live, I went and I bought $82 worth of stuff. So I'm already on board.
What? No, you didn't. Did you seriously?
I did. Yeah, you can
Dude,
check.
We could have hooked you up, Ken.
No.
We could have hooked you up.
I'm happy to do it.
You're part
already
of the BTL
paid
crew.
for it. I already paid for it.
Oh,
I'm gonna
well,
have my
Sorry,
cap.
we don't have a floral shirt with BTL on it, or a fedora hat that says BTL on it.
We might
would've
do
been
that.
really cool.
We might have to get one of those custom made for you.
If I could have my own signature series fedoras with the BTL logo, that would be awesome.
we might do that, Matt. That would be cool. All right, man. Get back to work. We will talk to you in the morning.
Tear them up, guys.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a
All right.
good show.
All right. See ya. All right, real quick, I need to remind everybody, in case you weren't watching last night, the merch store is open. All you have to do is go to bassown.com. It's only open until, I think, April 25th. It's a limited run. This whole run is really, folks, to help and support Matt with expenses fishing 9 of the opens. So this is all on him. He did the design. He's kind of managing the whole thing. So this is really all the revenue that is generated from this is going to go to Matt to help with his expenses on fishing the 9 opens. So Matt out, and you want to look good too in your hoodie and in your hat and your long sleeve shirt, your short sleeve T-shirt, your decals that you can put on your truck. Go ahead and head over to bassown.com. Just click on the banner there, and we'll get after it. Now, in case you didn't watch last night, once again, I have to mention there is another banner on there to where if you want to become a guest host on this show while Matt is gone for a month, hey, all you got to do is click on that banner and tell me why you want to be a co-host on this show. Super easy. Just click on the link, takes you right to the form, fill it out. It gets automatically routed to me, and we kind of go from there, and I'll look at them, and then whoever I select, I'll reach out to them. And I was thinking last night, Ken, we might even have a rapid-fire guest host deal where we may have 10 guest hosts on one day.
I like it. Kind of a speed dating thing, Mark. Very
Yeah.
nice. Very nice.
Well,
That way you pick the best guy.
I never did that. Speed dating
Or
wasn't
young lady.
around when I was Signal.
Me neither. And now I'm too old to do anything involving great speed. But that's how I got this gig. That's how I got to be an occasional guest on the show and so forth, by filling out those forms over and over and over again and flooding your email.
Really?
Oh yeah, that's how I do it, man.
Hey, by the way, that deal with Bradley Hallman pulling up there, that was not planned. That was not part of what we were going to do this morning in chatting with Matt. That's just very, very funny.
When you're
that
as
he
good as
would pull up.
BTL, those kind of things just happen. That kind of kismet, that perfect timing and everything. I haven't had many instances like that, but you cherish those deals.
Yeah.
And it was very cool that Bradley came up then. It was really even cooler that you had a good video and good sound with both Matt and Bradley on there, because you don't always get that either.
Yeah. Very cool. All right, man. We're going to take just a quick break, and then we're going to come back with the man that got it done on the Sabine River, Orange, Texas, 43 pounds. Was that the second lowest winning weight, Ken, in the history of the Bassmaster Elite Series?
I'm going to have to go back and I'll check that while we're waiting for Jason. But I think that probably is absolutely right. Bear with me just a moment. I am scanning a spreadsheet.
All right. Well, you take a look at that, and we'll take a quick break and come back with the winner right here on BTL, Jason Christie, in a moment. Everybody stay tuned. We'll be right back.
The ultimate fishing system starts with Lowrance Hds Live. The best fish finding tools, from chirp sonar and fish reveal to active imaging and new active target live sonar, and complete touchscreen control from your trolling motor to your big motor. For a limited time, building the ultimate fishing system will be easier on your wallet. Upgrade to HDS Live with a Ghost trolling motor, active target sonar, or live sight sonar, and save up to $800.
Basscat's legendary 20-foot platform has been paired with angler-approved accessories for 2021. Puma FTD features the proven hull used by many of the top names in bass fishing today, backed by a transferable lifetime warranty. The Puma FTD boasts a full team deck concept which enhances efficiency for you and your tournament partners. Turnkey tournament-winning performance. The Puma FTD SP from Basscat.
Big companies get bigger and bigger and talk about their fancy labs where they study fish behavior. But then they all go golfing on the weekend. We don't have a large laboratory to test baits. Why, you ask? We don't need a big laboratory because our pros fish, our employees fish, our salespeople fish, our suppliers fish, our mold builders fish, our owners fish, and our kids fish. This is our laboratory. Our R&D comes from time on the water, learning how to make fish bite. All that time on the water brings us thousands of hours of testing new products and improving current ones for all species.
All of us on the Pro Tournament Trail use Gamakatsu hooks. Why? Because they are absolutely the best.
It's not about how many bites you get.
It's how many you put in the boat.
Gamakatsu makes hooks for every fishing style.
We didn't come this far to lose fish.
Did you?
For more information, visit gamakatsu.com.
All right, we are back on a Tuesday. Mark Jeffries along with special guest host Ken Duke. And what did you find out, Ken?
I thought you're absolutely right, Mark. The lowest winning weight in any elite tournament was Kevin Short on the Mississippi River in 2009, but he was only 12 ounces lower than what Jason Christie caught to win at the Sabine last week. And this Sabine tournament had the smallest average bass in elite history, about 1 pound, 9 ounces was the average fish weighed in, which is really not great. And I'll throw some other stats at you here about this season generally, because I've been really curious about the level of competition in the Elite Series since those 68 guys left for Major League Fishing a few years ago. Yeah. And what I found is that I think there are a few stats you can look at and make some sort of value determination on the level of skills. I'm not saying that this is one of them, because I don't think it necessarily is. So much depends on timing and venue. But these guys are catching dramatically fewer fish than the previous elites. Okay. Mm-hmm. This year, and we're only a handful of tournaments in right now.
4, I believe. Yeah,
we're 4 in, so we're really less than halfway through. But these guys are bringing. The average guy is bringing fewer than 4 fish to the scales each day, and that's never happened before. And last year they set the record for worst average number of fish brought to the scales by angler. They set the record for worst at 4.2. This year it's below that. I'm not saying that's that's a factor in determining when was the Elite Series the strongest, because so much depends on timing and venue. And if you go to the Sabine River, you're obviously not interested in catching a bunch of big fish.
Well, 43 pounds got it done. And the man that got it done, we're going to bring him in now. Jason, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. How are you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Greatly appreciate you taking time out. I know it's fairly a short time after your victory. I'm sure you're a little wore out. But, dude, I got to tell you, watching you, I said it on the show last week. Some people do not like watching grinds. I'm a little different. I'm a little weird. I like watching the grinds. I like seeing guys just the outpouring of effort that takes place to come in with 8, 9, 10 pounds on a body of water that you were victorious on. And the area that you were fishing in, dude, it looked like it was lights out. And that's where I want to start with you. All right, because as you're explaining this, I'm going to roll some video for the fans. But out of all the areas that Bass was showing on the live feed on where these guys were showing, your area just looked very, very special. How did you find it? What made you decide to go there? And was there anything in your best part of your game that you knew that this was going to be the best place for you to have a shot at winning? What are your thoughts?
Well, the first day of practice, I went to Taylor's, and there was two things I didn't like there. I didn't get many bites, and two, there was quite a few boats there. So the second day of practice, I ventured up the Sabine to some of the areas that I fished the last time the Elite Series was there, and I got a fair number of bites. The problem that I saw was that they were really scattered. I'd fish a giant backwater and get one bite or two bites. And it's just hard to, it's hard to win getting one bite here and there. And after the second day of practice, I kind of decided I was going to go back to the Taylor's, Natchez, and look around. And I had a bite the second day that just I couldn't forget about it. It was an 8 or a 9 pounder.
Jeez.
Yeah, I had my hook covered up. I pulled her to the top, and I just couldn't get that out of my head. Well,
Jason, that's a big redfish, by the way.
No, it's not a redfish. I saw it. So the second day of practice, I had ventured up. There's kind of a series of backwaters in the Sabine. Obviously, we can't fish the Louisiana backwaters.
Right.
There's a series of backwaters, and then there's about a 20-mile stretch where there's nothing. And it was the big bite that I had, and I thought, I need to go back and check this one backwater. It was the creek that I ended up winning in. And I actually was in there in practice the last time, and I'd got a lot of bites, but they were real small. And I rolled back in there the third day of practice, and I mean, it was, you could tell there hadn't been anybody in there in a long time, and there was a lot of fish in there. The creek, I did some research on it. The creek goes 68 miles, and I went maybe a quarter mile into the creek, and there was a tree all the way across it. And the limbs laid over on the bank. And I snuck around that tree, and you couldn't have got around it, I don't think, in a glass boat. I slid around. I didn't break the limbs, so nobody would know that I had been there. And I went on up, and it was I got a lot of bites. Now, on that practice day, I only had one big bite, and I decided right then that the average size fish in there, even the smaller fish, the smaller bites I was catching were 1.5 pounds. So I decided that's where I was going to fish, and I spent the rest of that practice day running back, marking all the log jams, and just routing the way that I was going to run. I researched my gas. I mean, I really evaluated that, and I spent the fourth day of practice at home, taking all the weight out of my boat and just getting ready to make the run.
All right, real quick, I have to ask you this because the area in the video that I'm running right now is that creek.
That right there, I want to stop you. That right there, that turn.
Yeah.
That was the juke. I mean, like, I started there the first morning, and you know, my goal was 10 or 11 pounds. I mean, to be realistic, and I start there and I make 6 casts and catch 12 pounds the first day. I go around the corner, I catch 2 threes and a 4.5, and I literally fished for 20 minutes, and I stopped. You know, I didn't want to catch anymore. I didn't know how many big ones were in there, but I'd stopped.
Wow. Now, how many places here in Oklahoma look like that creek, Jason? Did it look familiar? To me, it looks like I've seen a ton of areas in Oklahoma that look like that. I mean, what are your thoughts?
That's Oklahoma fishing. And looking at that picture right there,
yeah,
you're taking a creek that, I mean, in all honesty, you know, looking up that straightaway right there might be 1 or 2 largemouth on that stretch. And, you know, the creek was at a perfect level the first 2 days because all the targets, you know, had 1 foot to 2 foot of water in it. There was current, and they were set up. They were really, really predictable. And, you know, the third day when it got tough on me, I mean, the water was up there in those green trees. You know, they opened the dam, they flooded the creek. But to answer your question, yes, I grew up in Oklahoma fishing areas just like that.
All right, we see the spinnerbait. What was special about that spinnerbait that you were using?
You know, the watercolor was not muddy, not clear. It was kind of that in between. So I wanted a bait that I could move fast, and that's why I went to the tandem Colorado instead of the single. You know, I kind of compacted that bait. You know, I trimmed the skirt a lot. I shortened my trailer because, you know, I was looking for those kind of bites that were looking at the screen, but also, you know, those spotted bass to fill the limit. So I was hoping to catch both of those, but, you know, it just looked good. And a lot of people ask me about, you know, the spinner baits and stuff like that. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've tied a spinner bait on and I swim it beside the boat, and just with watercolor, you know, I want one that looks good. I mean, that just looks real. And sometimes the one with the orange head and the bright chartreuse looks good in the dirty water. The spinnerbait just looked good, and the tandem, you know, nickel gold, it just all really, really looked good. And I'm really surprised because a lot of those fish, all of those fish were pre-spawn. And I never even tied on the single Colorado, but the water had gotten dirtier throughout the event, and I really feel like that I picked the right spinnerbait.
All right, I have one more question, and then I'm going to send it to you, Ken. Did you have a trailer hook on that spinnerbait, Jason?
I did not. I actually had 2 spinnerbaits rigged up, and I never threw the other one. I had the tandem Colorado without a trailer hook. There was a lot of trees that you would have a little pocket about the size of a table, and there would be trees that would lay across that. And that's where a lot of those fish were. So I wanted to, you know, get that spinnerbait in those pockets and be able to roll it over those limbs. And I just felt like the trailer hook would get me hung up. I had another covert rigged up with a willow leaf on it, a tandem willow leaf, and that one was with a trailer hook. In practice, when I got a bite, there would be, on a spotted bass, there would be 5 to 10 that would follow it in. So my thinking was I could slow roll that willow leaf out there and with that trailer hook catch those spotted bass. But fortunately, I never had to throw that bait. I just stuck with the tandem Colorado. And, you know, I had intentions of flipping and stuff and really, really, but they were eating the spinnerbait so hard and biting it so good that I never even felt like I needed to switch. And, you know, when those fish would follow me in, there's so much current in there, they would follow me to the boat, and then the school would disperse. You know, so it was, I didn't feel comfortable stopping really fishing for those fish that had moved and come to the boat. So my thinking was I just covered as many targets as I could, and then, you know, I really never had to fish behind myself throughout the whole event.
Ken?
Jason, you've done as much or more than anybody else I can think of to kind of put spinnerbaits back in the spotlight. and you fished them even when it seems like a lot of guys were going with bladed jigs, a lot of guys were throwing more square bills. Has the focus shifting away from spinnerbaits over the last decade or so? Has that helped your spinnerbait fishing?
I think there's, we look at sales on the spinnerbait, and you can base a lot of it on rainfall. I mean, you need to have some dirty water and high water in most cases. And another variable is around the spawn. I mean, that's the best time for me that I think pre-spawn and spawn is whenever they bite it the best. And, we had an event that was around the spawn. The water was dirty. As long as we keep getting those types of scenarios, I don't care if it's 100 years from now, 500 years from now, the spinnerbait is still going to catch fish. So there's times that I throw a bladed jig over a spinnerbait, but whenever it's shallow like that, and I want the bait to lift, roll over logs and stuff, and I just to me that's it. And there's times, especially on events like this that are tough, you kind of just got to go with your confidence bait. And I can't tell you how much confidence I have in those baits.
They're fantastic, and I know that you've done a lot of great work with Pradco on that and Booyah. Speaking of baits, though, and your confidence baits, I had a conversation with you some years ago that has always stuck with me. It's really cool because you have a reputation as being a guy who likes a lot of older baits. Mm-hmm. And in some cases, bait that are even out of production.
Yeah.
And I'll jog your memory if need be, but you had a great answer for me in why you still use a lot of older baits in your mix. Mm-hmm. Can you tell the folks watching and listening about why you favor, in a lot of cases, some older baits?
I think it's really just confidence. I think that's everybody. You probably talked to Larry Nixon and guys like that grew up catching thousands of fish on a bait. It's just that, you've gained so much confidence in that bait. That's what you have confidence in. And there's a lot of people out there that, they want to put science in fishing. They want to have a formula which bait to throw in. And there are times that works. But all in all, it's putting a bait in your hand that you have confidence in that fits the scenario. I mean, you're not going to pull into that creek and when it's 40 degrees and light them up on a buzz bait. But as long as you're within the realm of a realistic bait for the time, I mean, put a bait in your hand that has confidence. I mean, honestly, you take a guy like Greg Hackney. He would have pulled in that creek with a jig and probably caught the same fish, some of the same fish. Maybe would have caught more. I don't know, but that's kind of what his confidence thing. And it's weird every year. Years are different. I can remember a year 6-7 years ago that I don't remember all year weighing a single fish on a spinnerbait. We just didn't have the right conditions that year. It was low, everything was clear, the schedule. So it's and as far as the older baits, it's just a confidence thing. I mean, I'm kind of getting away from it a little bit. Some of it is, I like to promote baits that we sell, and but I still have a few old ones in the box that aren't.
Well, I got to believe that. Well, one of the things you said to me then, Jason, which really stuck with me, was you said that those old baits that you've been fishing for decades, you knew exactly what those baits were going to do.
Yeah.
And that wasn't necessarily true with some newer baits. But now that you've become so successful and a lot of your sponsors are giving you a big hand in designing these baits, obviously you're going to be able to come up with exactly the tools that you feel like you need. And that's what the Covert series looks like to me, is these are superior tools. You've taken the stuff that you've loved for decades and made it better.
Yeah.
And I think that's perfect.
Yeah, that's what we one thing I think about all of my sponsors that I can say is they're not satisfied. I mean, you look at Garmin a few years ago, they come out with Live Scope. I mean, those engineers could have walked in for the next 5 years, drank coffee and not done anything and said, hey, we look at what we've done. I guarantee you, I know for a fact that as soon as they brought that to market. They're working on something else, and it's the same way with Booyah and all of those. We don't. I mean, because if you rest, same way with fishing. If you take a break, somebody's going to pass you.
All right,
Absolutely.
Cool stuff. All right, I want to throw this picture up. This is just a still shot, Jason, in that area. And I want you to talk a little bit about, I saw you a couple times catch some fish, and I think it was in the same creek or real close to it, where to the fan that was watching, it looked like there was nothing on the bank. It just looked like it was a sand bank that you caught some of the fish on. Was there stuff actually underneath the water that you were keying on, or were some of those fish not like this situation where there's a ton of stuff on the bank and in the water? Were they just keying on those sand banks? What's the scoop?
There was two things they were keying on. One was wood, or three things. One was wood. One was that's kind of a cut bank there. And the other one was current. And that tree where that fish is trying to jump was dynamite, because I had two of those variables on the same. There was a cut bank, and the roots of that cypress tree hung over, and that on that cast right there is where I caught 12 pounds the first day in 6 casts. And
wow.
And it was prime. And I regret one thing. I mean, I won, so I really don't have any regrets, but I really wish that I would have stayed in there the second day and fished, knowing that if I knew the water was going to come up, and tried to catch all I could catch. There was there wasn't a lot of big ones in there, but I really believe if the water would have stayed like it was, I believe that I would have had a lot more weight than what I would have had, because being that I didn't fish very much the first day and the second day. Ken, I heard your conversation before I came on about the average size being lower. I mean, you have to go back and look at, like this event, for me, the water changed dramatically. I mean, I say I catch a lot more weight if it hadn't come up. Maybe somebody else does too, but this year we've been faced with some tough conditions. Pickwick flooded on the day before. Guys had to restart. Last year, a lot of the schedule was moved to the fall. Therefore, you're going to have lower weights, and you're going to have tougher fishing. And, I agree with what Mark said before I come on. Fans sometimes want to watch blowouts. They want to see 80, 90, 100-pound events. But, as a fan, I'm still a fan. I like to see events where it takes strategy and it's low weights, because not everybody has a lake down the road that they're going to catch 100 pounds. They may want to see all of that stuff. And I like watching those events. Even if I'm not in the event, I like to see some of those grinders, because you look at the people that have won on the Sabine. I mean, Hackney, there's not a better grinder out there. So I kind of enjoy those events sometimes.
Well, you're really good at them. I mean, you're really good. Your first elite win was at Bull Shoals, where the winning weight was like 56.5 pounds. The only kind of slugfest that you've won was on the St. Clair. So you're really good at that stuff. I've covered a tournament where you won at I guess it was Fort Gibson. That's right in your wheelhouse. Yeah. So
it's really a mindset, and my uncle, who's passed now, I can't tell you how many times I've fished with him, and he would say, you just need 5. We just need 5. And it slows you down, and it kind of makes you focus on, getting that bigger or trying to get that better bite. And it doesn't put me in a hurry very often, but it's just a mindset that, it's going to be tough. That's why I love fishing in the wintertime. A lot of guys, when they put their boat in and their pinky toe is cold, they're already beat. I love fishing in the wintertime because I feel like you can be tough and beat half of the field.
Yep. Great stuff. All right. Several people on the instant feedback are asking this because they were unable to watch some of the footage, some of the live coverage. There seems to be three things on a spinnerbait: speed, cadence, rhythm. How important was your speed and your cadence and your rhythm with triggering the strikes in that area that you were fishing, Jason?
Not so much in this event than some of the past events because it was shallow. You know, a lot of the bites, you know, that deep hole that you showed the picture of, that was probably the deepest hole in there. When I started, it was 5 or 6 foot deep. These fish, they were current based, and they wanted that bait up really, really high. And that's why I'm tucked over so close to the bank, because I wanted to bring it down the edge with the current right up. And they would be so shallow. I mean, you know, they're sitting up there getting out of that current. But I would really just reel it, and whenever I got to a target or somewhere that I thought there was a fish, I just wanted that bait to flash. And that was just a hesitation, you know, a drop the rod, a couple, just make that spinnerbait flare, and that would trigger them. I mean, it was, this was all about the area and the bait. I mean, this was more so the area. I mean, I was fortunate enough to find the right area. You know, I would just like to have seen, it was kind of a weird week because, you know, you lead the event for 2 days going into the last day, and, you know, the camera boat tried to follow me. I mean, the steel photographer, he didn't make it because he backed out after about 30 minutes of the run. And you know, nobody else, there was no locals up there bothering me at all. And nobody came in to watch because, I mean, you know, T-Roy is a friend of mine, and he made the comment, I've lived here for all my life, and I would never make that run. So,
oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, and that's sometimes on a tough fishery, that's some of the things that you have to do to get away from the rest of the field.
Yeah. Jason, you made a switch boat-wise. You know, aluminum boats have done very, very well this year. How much of an asset was that boat for you this event and contributed to your win?
It was big, you know, getting around those logs and stuff up there. So Brandon Card, he found the same creek that I did, and you know, after I talked to him during the event, and he had made a bunch of calls and said, he called the tournament director and said, hey, I'm going to cut that tree that I was talking about down so he could access it. He wanted to cut it down. And I told him, I said, you don't, he asked if it was okay with me. I was like, I don't need it cut down. I can get around it. I wanted to leave it there because if there was a local come up there, you know, if I didn't need any help getting around those trees and stuff. And that's the difference. You know, how the boat helped me, and I was able to do it in practice and see what lived up there. I think that's one of the reasons why he didn't move up the creek until after I went to catch him, because he didn't realize, he's never been around that log. He didn't know what lived on the other side. So it's been big. It's really changed my mindset as far as how it's got me back to how I've grown up fishing. You know, which is digging in the dirt. I mean, I can catch them deep. I can do that, but
yeah,
my forte is up there on the bank, flipping, spinnerbaiting, frogging, and you know, it's kind of got me back to where I want to be as far as mindset.
All right, cool stuff. One more question, Ken, and then I'll send it to you. A lot of discussion about the gas situation. And I really want to know, on your mind, was that something that was bothering you? It just seems like your mental game during this event was out of this world. And honestly, Jason, was it on your mind, especially on that final day? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was on my mind every day. You know, we stayed with the nicest family there, one of my friends, and the bed was, it was, in practice, I slept like a rock. Like you had to come in and jump on my belly to wake me up. But once I realized what I was going to do, and during the tournament, 2 or 3 hours a night, and it was just, you know, I'm going through the scenario. I would not have won this tournament if it had not been for the digital gauge. And it's a Yamaha Garmin kind of half and half deal. where I can watch fuel flow and I can watch the exact amount that I have left. It was a very long run, and the problem with the run is there's a lot of S curves. I want to count them one day, and my guess is 250.
Wow.
Yeah, just S curves. You go around a curve and there's a log there. You got to goose it and cut between another log and a sandbar. Well, all of that eats gas. And when I made the run in practice, I made the run and come back, and I had 2 gallons left by myself. So I knew I could make it. And then the first night before the event, I'm thinking I'm going to get a marshal, and we're going to have to have this. I'm going to have to ask the question over the phone, how much do you weigh? And I didn't want to do that. Well, luckily I didn't get a marshal the first day, and I made it back with 2 gallons, exactly the same. Well, the next day I get a cameraman and a camera. Well, all of that stuff probably combined is 250. So I was really nervous that day. I made it back that day with a half a gallon. The third day I made it back with a gallon, and the fourth day I made it back with a gallon. But I actually did really good the fourth day on fuel. When I came back into Texas, I had more, like 2 gallons more, because the river had gotten so high up there. I was able to cut sandbars and shorten the distance. And my camera, when I came back into Texas, the last 5 or 6 miles, I ran it hard. And it felt like we were going 1,000,000 miles an hour, because I've been going 35 the whole week. I had to keep the fuel flow going up below 13 and coming back down below 11 to make it.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. All right. One other quick question, and then Ken, we need a final question if you have one, and then we need to let Jason go. A lot of people are wanting to know, were you using not a trailer hook, but a plastic trailer on your spinnerbait, Jason?
Yeah, actually, the Yum Swim and Dinger, which is one a lot of people, if they follow me, I use a lot. I forgot. I didn't forget, but whenever I was lightening my boat, I took a lot of stuff out of my boat, 150 pounds probably. And I had 2 dozen of those trailers in there. And as the event went on, and spotted bass, they bite the end of it off. I ran out, and I had to go to an old school trailer after that. But I think on the 4th day I had to go to old school, because my box is in the garage back in Orange, Texas. So, I had to deal with, I probably wasn't carrying, I just, before this call, went back out there and put everything back in my boat. I probably had a total of 3 to 4 to 5 pounds of tackle in my boat for that event. So,
wow.
Minimum, I just had to use what I had. I carried like 2 frogs, 5 spinnerbaits, a couple of square bills, and some soft plastic.
All right, great stuff. Ken, final question.
Jason, I want to talk some unfinished BASS business for you.
Yeah. I want to make it clear that was not my idea to start that slogan. That was somebody else's. I'm not that type of person, but go ahead.
No, I'm not even familiar with what somebody else might have said about it. Okay. But you came so close to winning a couple of classics. You came so close to winning AOY. As usual, you're in the hunt right now for AOY. You're in 4th place. You were 2nd in 2017. You're clearly one of the best sticks in the business. How much are you thinking about AOY, and how important would a Bassmaster Classic win be to you?
I mean, they would both be, really, really important. Am I going to base my career on those 2 trophies? No. I mean, I feel like that I don't have anything else to prove. I mean, everything's good right now. My sponsors are happy with, product and the things that we're doing. There's a lot of guys out there that fish that don't ever win. They're good guys. They're good sticks and good people. But, I've won my fair share of trophies. Do I still want to, those? Yeah, absolutely I do. And that's why I come back. But, I don't base success for me on how many trophies. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm making a living. I'm making a nice living fishing, doing what I like to do. And so if I'm there, I mean, I would like to be in contention a few more times, both for the Classic and Angler of the Year, just because it's really, really fun. There's some kind of rush there that I like, but if I don't, I mean, it is what it is. You start, it seemed like up until 2017, everything went right for me to win. And then after 17, after I lost in South Carolina at the Classic, you start questioning yourself. Every time I was close, it would not go my way. And you're like, what am I doing wrong? And I feel like getting this trophy is I've always kind of been that guy that I'm going to do what I'm going to do. There's probably not a lot of people that would have went back to that creek with it flooded 7 foot on the third day, but there was something about it that told me to go back, and yes, I want those trophies, but it's not the end all be all for me.
All right. Awesome stuff, man. Can't thank you enough for taking time out. I have one final question. Any chance you might know how the fishing is at 10 Killer right now?
I don't know, but I know that I haven't bass fished a lot here. I've been crappie fishing, and I'm going to take care of some business around the house tomorrow, and I'll be out there Thursday crappie fishing. I think it's probably got to be, they probably got to be getting up on the bed, so I'm saying it's pretty good.
Yeah.
But, our schedule from now till June is a week on, week off, and I don't want to burn myself out, so I'll probably take my dad crappie fishing or something Thursday.
Yeah. Ed Barton said the crappie were biting pretty good.
Oh, I want to say, I brought 24 home the other day and weighed them, and they weighed 45.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah. So, and catching all of them off live scope, and I've been giving them to some of my buddies and stuff. Just,
yeah.
You can't catch a crappie and let it go. I just can't do that. So
yeah, I'm with you, man.
Yeah.
All right. Great job, man. Great win. And you continue to make Oklahoma very proud. And best of luck to you for the remainder of the season, man. We'll get you back on soon.
Thank you. You guys have a good day.
All right, man. Take care, Jason.
Wait.
See ya. There you have it, Jason Christie. Dude, let's face it. He's a stud. He's one of the superstars in the game, Ken.
No doubt. We didn't have time to bring up, but I had a great interview with Jason a few years ago when I was on a trip with some of his sponsors. We were on the upper Mississippi River, and Jason and I were just sitting around. I was talking to him about a variety of bass fishing topics. And we got to talk about bed fishing, which is something I'm very interested in. I really enjoy bed fishing.
Yeah.
And we were talking about bed fishing in tournaments. And you know how guys get, if they see a real giant on a bed, we've both seen guys completely lose it and spend half a day or more on that one fish that they may never catch and bring to the scales. So I asked Jason, I said, well, how do you know when it's time to quit on a fish? And he had one of the best answers I've ever had in any interview. He said, when it gets personal.
Yeah.
Ding. Yeah, of course, that's when you quit.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it does get personal, as you know, Ken.
They can get personal quickly.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Come back with a man that absolutely smashed him in Carolina. All right, talking about Fletcher Shryock. So, quick break. Come back with Fletcher. Everybody stay tuned here on a Tuesday.
Guys, what makes our Spro lures beat the competition?
I mean, you have to admit, we nailed it with my McSticks and rock crawlers.
Man, we've all won money on my plugs.
My Wamic shot put fish in my boat.
One thing's for sure, we all count on our Spro lures to beat the competition.
Designing cutting-edge baits with some of America's top anglers. Spro lures beat the competition. To see the entire lineup, visit a retailer near you or spro.com.
The Ned Rig. What rod should I be using with the Ned Rig? My favorite is the Denali Lithium multi-spin rod. It's our 7'4" length, great Ned Rig rod. It's got a great sensitive tip on it. It's long enough where I can make long casts, which you're usually fishing clear water with a Ned Rig, and it's got enough backbone to get those fish in. So check it out, Denali Lithium Series 7'4" multi-spin.
Pro-inspired, pro-designed. Tested and proven by legends on the water. Dominating the tournament trail for over 50 years. Everything you need, one legendary brand. Strike King.
Hey guys, Major League Fishing Pro Jacob Wheeler here with my new Signature Series line of rods with Duck It Fishing. We have my 7.2 cranking rod right here. Crankbaits can be very fickle, and having the right, having a lot of tip can be too much, and having not enough tip can, lose a lot of fish. So you really got to be careful. If there's one or two techniques that I'm really adamant about having the perfect action is a crankbait, especially like a square bill, a DT6, those medium running crankbaits in the springtime when those fish's mouth are pretty tough. That's when I'm really on top of having my actions just perfect.
All right, we are back. Mark Jeffries along with special guest host Ken Duke. What is that, Ken?
That's my order form, Mark. That's my confirmation. I printed out my receipt.
Dude, we were going to take care of you, but that's great, man. You're donating to the cause of Matt Pangrak right there.
I'm supporting the cause, man. I mean, I want to feel good about myself when I'm wearing my BTL swag. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
All
right.
I got a cap and a hoodie and a sticker.
That's very nice. Very good. All right. Second half of the show here. It is time to go to our second guest. And, dude, this guy just absolutely dominated the second day. He caught, I think it was over 60 pounds. And just, I don't know how much he can talk about it, but, man, just an unreal day two for Fletcher Shryock. Let's bring him in now. Fletcher, you there, man?
Yeah, what's up, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Hey, man, thanks for taking time out. Being back on BTL, that's good stuff. But, man, that day two was unbelievable, man.
It was, and it was the funny thing about it, it was just so unexpected, just the way the whole weeks went. Had some other stuff going on this week, long story, but I didn't actually practice very much. I've been like I'm a workaholic. I'm that guy that's the first minute we can take off for practice till dang dark 30 to dark 30 is usually my program. And this time I had some other stuff going on and I didn't get to practice very much. And it was a blessing in disguise the way it all worked out. So it was kind of cool from that standpoint. I didn't order tackle actually either because of things. And it was just, and then one thing led to another. There's a lot of weird things that happened for that day to take place, which makes it kind of cool, People say, they're like, hey, you're not going to catch him today or this or that. Or I'll say, I may not be very good today. And they'll go, you never know. And I'm like, yeah, right. And this is one of them deals where you never know, I felt like I would make the cut, but to catch 14 bass for 60 something pounds and have over a 4 1/4 pound average, that's, that was unexpected. So
yeah, now
a 9 like just pops in there too. Throw that in there, It was cool. It was cool. The way that the whole week went was cool. So
yeah, 9-pounder, right? Is that right?
9.4, yeah.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about, if you can, how you caught the 9-pounder.
Yeah, it's no big deal. So I had 3 areas is all I had. And the first day I had to sample each area. And I started in a place and the sun needed to get up before I could catch them, I felt. So I fished through there and they weren't really set up yet. And then I moved to another area and Andy Morgan's there flipping. And he sees me coming because we knew we was going to see each other. Like it was just for certain. And he sped up and went right to the juice in that place and caught like a 4 and a 3 and another one in front of me. And I leave there, got stuck on a stump, about flipped the boat over. We leave there and I go to another place and no one's there. And I start catching them. And then Andy comes in late that day and he catches a few out on a stretch that I just got done fishing. So then the start of the second day, I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go up there. And if I can have it to myself or at least manage, like if I can go down the stretch and know that I just hit it and someone else pulls in behind me, I can manage that area because I can see everything. and just pick the place apart. And that's basically what I did. And the timing was obviously a big deal. Had I practiced a lot, I usually can have a milk run of several little stretches all up and down the lake. I usually burn a bunch of gas. And I would have found them stretches more than likely and been moving around. Probably had a good tournament, but I wouldn't have been forced to stay. And the other area that I had, Ike was in. So that was another deal. I pulled up and Ike was in there jacking on him. And the water's this deep, there's a mud trail behind. You can't just fish around other guys. So it all worked out the way it was supposed to for it to happen. So.
Okay. All right.
Fletcher, when are you going to move to North Carolina, man? What is it about Fletcher Shryock in North Carolina?
I don't know. It is pretty wild, isn't it? It's been a while since Norman, but yeah, it's
been a while. But that was one of your career highlights right there. A lot of people may not remember. I expect most do, especially fans like me of Fletcher. But in 2011, he won an Open on Lake Norman in North Carolina. So anybody who's paying attention to what's going on in the pro world, if the tournament's in North Carolina, bet on this man. He's dangerous.
If it's in the springtime and there's something to flip to, yeah, I feel like it's working out pretty well so far.
I think this is footage of that fish. Let's roll this and see if it. Yeah, looky there. It's not working. I thought it was. I'll keep working on this. But does that look like the area that you were in?
No, that's it. She was on that willow tree right there, like at the base of the willow that you can see.
Yeah.
And you see those two bushes right in front. Well, the one has only got two sticks on the left, but that one over my right shoulder to my right.
There we go.
Yeah, I had to thread her. Once I saw how big she was, I knew I was in trouble, but I had to thread her through a very narrow lane very quickly to get her out of that stuff. I lost a 6 or a 7 the first day in another willow exactly like that. She come out, she got in the bush, and then rolled around before I could get to her and come off. So I was afraid that one was going to do the same thing. That's why I was freaking out, just trying to walk her through that little lane. She come right out. So she was sure, and I think she was tired because, it was not much of a fight. You know what I mean? Like, I put the gas on her. Like, I was torquing on her pretty good, but she didn't have the strength of a healthy 9-pounder I didn't feel that I've caught in the past anyway.
That kind of cover, Fletcher, are you using heavy fluorocarbon or are you using braid? What was your line?
I use a braid to a fluorocarbon leader. The only negative to that is I have to retie a lot and it's a pain. I have several flipping sticks on deck. I'm always messing with leaders, but to me, that's the best system that's worked for me over the years. And I just keep tweaking it. The rod if you watch that video again, you'll see it's a 7-11 rod. It's basically an 8-foot rod with a shorter handle, an inch off the handle, because I'm not huge, so I'm able to pass around my elbow easier with a shorter handle. But that rod has a lot of leverage, but you can see how that whole rod torques down whenever that fish
right there
gives. But as it loads, it creates power, and it's not just a broomstick against you and the fish to where you're tearing a hole in their face. And as it loads, it almost just compresses the whole deal. And it just makes it so much easier when you get them in open water, and it makes it so you don't tear the hook out of their face. If you happen to slack line them, that whole rod gives to them instead of just a broomstick. If you're using fluorocarbon, the stiffer rod's the deal. You probably wouldn't want to use fluor. This is a rod I'm coming out with at iCast with Favorite Fishing. It's one of the prototypes, but it's definitely a braid to leader or straight braid rod. It's the same rod that I punch with. So
that kind of parabolic bend is real popular here in Florida where I live, Fletcher. And I feel like it's great, especially in the grass, because if your rod goes flat, you're apt to lose those fish. But I wonder sometimes if you don't give up some control over the fish when you go with a parabolic bend.
Yeah, if you have the right amount of power in the rod, it's the only way to go, because you can only put so much pressure on them anyway. A certain amount of weight, in my mind. I've thought and I've tweaked and I've worked and I've lost them over the years, and it's finally the last couple of years it's coming together to where I've got a system that works. And there's no doubt there's a lot. You got to have the right action. That's what we're working on right now, is getting that thing dialed, which I think we're close now, but getting that thing dialed to where, it's just important to have it to where it can load. You have a lot more power than I think you feel like you do, Ken. So the rod's bent a little bit more, if that makes sense. And it keeps that hook in them. If they jump, the rod's given to them, versus if you just got a stout rod, you're pulling, you're tearing the fish's mouth. There's so many things that can happen, so that's me personally. I know everyone's different. It's not like I'm right and someone else is wrong or vice versa, but I put a lot of work into it, and there's a lot of techniques I feel that same theory applies, but definitely for flipping. So
awesome that you're working with Favorite to come up with something that suits your style of fishing, because if it suits Fletcher Shryock, it's going to suit a lot of people out there, and everybody should give that thing a look at iCast and beyond.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. Like I said, as far as fluorocarbon, it doesn't, because the fluorocarbon stretches. So now you have another dynamic in there. It's more for the straight braid. For the guy that uses straight braid and fishing in that heavy stuff, and that's realized that you don't use a broomstick to catch giant bass, that's definitely a rod to check out.
I'm sorry, Mark, I'm going to jump in with one more question. Fletcher, you mentioned the fluoro leader with the braid mainline. How long is your leader on that rig?
So my leader varies a lot depending on what I'm doing. Since I was fishing so shallow there, I would say that was probably a 4-foot leader.
Okay.
The deal is I don't want that knot, because I tie in Alberto. It's quicker to tie and I don't ever break it. I know there's some better knots, but for me it works and I can do my leaders quick. But I don't want that knot getting in any branches, into dock posts. I don't want it touching the wood, because when that knot touches the wood, it catches, and say you set the hook and there's pressure, that knot doesn't slip. So if I have to, I'll run the leader up. I never want it the knot. I either want it in the rod or out. And I also take a lighter to every new rod that I get, and I take the tip off and replace it with a Fuji B-Fat, a giant size 10 or 12 ring. I forget. I got tons of them. And that way it allows that leader to pass in and out. Because once you get it started, it's in the rod, right? So even if I get a fish and I have to crank through, get that knot through the guide, which I did on that fish there. I remember the point that it went through, because I was happy with that it did, because sometimes it'll catch. If you don't have that big tip ring on there, it's hard to get it to pass through to be able to grab the fish. So there's a lot of little things that I do to make it all work, that works for me anyway.
Now, will your new Favorite rod have that tip already standard? Is that just for a flipping outfit that you have that larger tip, or across the board, any rod you'd use a leader with?
I've got so dang used to it, honestly, I replace them all now. It almost just feels like the line comes off freer. I mean, there's guys, that's probably wrong, but it's just a confidence thing for me. But absolutely, when you're using a leader, that bigger tip is everything. So even with my spinning rods, like I know, even with the micro guides, I've replaced that tip because when that leader comes up, it just passes through so much quicker. So I know some rod manufacturers are probably saying different, but to me, I want that knot leader to come through there when I'm trying to horse a big fish to get to my hands. You know what I mean? So.
Oh, yeah.
All right, good stuff.
Manufacturers hate you now because you're talking about customizing their equipment.
That's probably accurate, but we'll make it right on the Favorite rod. It'll have it, and I don't think anyone's going to be complaining about it once they understand what the use, why it's like that. So it looks nice. Naughty, it doesn't look perfect. It sticks out a little bit, but it has a purpose. So
all right, now. All right. Speaking of big fish, I want to go back to the shot. I've got a frozen frame here that I want to queue up. All right, right there. How much was that fish worth? 25 grand, is that right, Fletcher?
Yeah, yep. And it also helped me win the round, but yeah.
Yeah. All right, be honest here. All right, that shot right there where you're battling this 9-pounder, seriously, you're only human. Were you thinking about the 25 grand right there? Did you think that was a $25,000 fish?
If you pull the audio, as soon as she cleared the lane of them bushes, I said, that's 25 grand, that's 25 grand, that's 25 grand. I thought it was a 10 plus. It's funny because the last time I was there, and I said this on the deal too, but the last time I was there, I swore up and down to people that I lost a 10. And it wasn't too far from where I caught her. Kind of been thinking it's the same dang fish. Maybe, probably not, but the way the week's been, it might have been.
Yeah.
But it wasn't probably, but not even a couple hundred yards from where I lost the one a few years ago. But yeah, I really felt like it was a 10, and I knew big bass was 8 something. So, but it was a 9, so it wasn't, it worked.
What's your PB? What's your personal best?
11, just over 11. I caught it Garcia in Florida out of a mat. So
wow,
it came flipping too.
All right, let's talk for the fans out there. Let's talk a little bit about the format. You won qualifying, so now you have a day off, right, during the knockout round, and then you'll be in the final round, correct?
Yeah, I've had 2 days off now because I was Group A. So
right.
Yeah, so I'm out the knockout round. I've been watching Score Tracker some. We've got a 3-pound minimum tomorrow. Yeah, so it's nice having these days off. I bet they've been keeping me pretty busy, but it's nice being able to chill and collect your stuff and get our stuff together, you know?
All right, let's talk a little bit about the format. This is kind of a special event. What are some of the differences in this event compared to a regular BPT event?
This one, we're actually fishing out of their boats and their jerseys. Also, for the championship round, they're upping the minimum weight to 3 pounds, which I think could end up being a big deal. But I think most of the time the guy that wins ends up winning regardless of whether it's 1 pound. Well, I shouldn't say that, but a 2 or 3. I think it's going to be good. I think it's just going to put more concentration. Less fish are going to hit the score tracker, but it's going to be quality over quantity, and which it usually works out that way anyhow. But that 3 pound minimum is going to make it interesting. But I'm really looking forward to it. Sharon Harris has freaking got him. I personally didn't like what I saw a lot over there. There just wasn't a lot of stuff that I felt pumped to fish. But we're going to go out there tomorrow and got a few ideas. Go out there tomorrow and we're going to see what happens.
All right. What has it been like not fishing out of your own boat?
You know, we're kind of used to it. You know, I've run a Lowrance Ghost and I've been with Nitro for years. So I'm really familiar with it. I guess it's not really that much different overall, you know. It's just, it feels more like a Major League Fishing Cup event, I guess. I think the biggest pain is just loading and unloading your boat every night and having to upload and, you know, the waypoints and stuff like that. That's probably the part that's kind of a pain. But other than that, it feels like a cup event. I mean, I've fished cup events for, 6 years now. So I've been jumping in their boats several times a year for 6 years. So it's kind of another, you know, a hybrid of the two, you know?
Yeah. So is it like the cup of events where every single boat is the same from an equipment standpoint?
Yeah, everyone's rigged identical. Obviously they have, you know, couple different boat brands, but yeah, they're all rigged identical with Lowrance's and the Lowrance Ghost and everything that, you know, every single one's the same. So,
all right. What are your thoughts? You mentioned you like having the days off, but would you rather be on the water or would you rather have that off day? What's the scoop on that?
Well, my thing is anytime you get a free ticket to the championship round, you've got to take it, you know? Yeah. I mean, I know it's a $50,000 fish today, but tomorrow it's $100,000 to win and I guaranteed 10, I think, just to be, you know, just to punch my ticket. So
yeah,
it sucked not being out there fishing. They're definitely going to have a leg up on me. But it is what it is. It's been a good week considering like just the whole situation and you never know. I mean, I feel like I can get some bites over there. I don't know how big they were because obviously I didn't have a hook. But we'll see, you know. I think I'm behind the 8 ball for sure, but let's go fish and see what happens. That's why we do it.
Now, interesting question here. If there was a lake close by that was not part of where you guys are fishing, could you actually take the boat that you're fishing out of and go fish a different lake on your off days?
Man, I do that often, Mark. I several times the last several years, if I have my off day, I go somewhere and fish where I can fish something similar to what I'm going to fish in the tournament. Helps my mechanics, helps get my mind right, keeps me sharp. That way, it's just when I get back out on the water and the camera's on and the score tracker's going off and the pressure's on, it's just another day to me. So I try to do that a lot. This week, it's been a little different because I've been busy. But yeah, on a normal week, I would have packed up and went somewhere. Actually, today I could go fish Jordan again and go flipping and catch him probably if I wanted to this afternoon, but I've got to tackle. But yeah, I do that quite a bit. I think some of the guys do. So I know Thrift does for sure. He can't ever not fish, you know?
Yeah. All right, man.
It's pretty cool. So
you're becoming more and more seasoned. All right. Obviously, as the years of experience come,
it's got to happen at some point, I guess. I appreciate that.
Yeah, but no. What I want to know is, what do you think from a technique standpoint that you've really, really improved on over the years, and what do you feel you still need to work on because you're just not where you think you need to be?
Yeah, that's a good question. What's that, Ken?
I just said great question.
Yeah, it's a good question. I feel like my flipping, pitching, punching game, that's what I'm best at. I don't think I'm the great, nothing like that. It's just I feel like that's my strength. I love doing it. But there's weaknesses with that because guys know that if Fletcher can't flip, I don't have as much confidence with a lot of other stuff, you know. Hard to really name any particular one, but I'm more of that shallow water power fisherman. I mean, I grew up in Ohio, but I've turned more into a southern fisherman. I feel like big stick, big line, throwing frogs, swim jigs. That's kind of my deal, you know, throwing chatterbaits a lot, traps, stuff like that. when it comes to finessing and all that stuff, like I never stopped to take the time to want to do that. You know, there's sometimes I would rather not catch one with a flipping stick and 50-pound braid in my hand than catch them on a spinning rod. And that's not good. I'm not bragging when I say that's not good, but that's just the facts. But here's the thing that got me for years, Mark. I got my tail kicked for years, and I always tried to be a jack of all trades. When I first started, whenever Ken mentioned it, Norman, years ago in that open, it's very simple. I kept things very, very simple for that first year. The next year on the Elite Series, I caught him decent, had a chance to make the Classic. I had a 6-fish deal that year, and I had no idea what I was doing at all. But then from there, I got more complicated. I'm like, oh, I got to do this deep cranking deal. Oh, I got to do this swim bait deal. Oh, I got to do this finesse deal. And every tournament, I'd look back on it. I'd be out there throwing a plug in 20 foot of water, half knowing what I'm doing at this point. And Greg Hackney's in the back of the creek mouth that I'm cranking, flipping bushes and jacking them. And flipping was always been my thing from Ohio. I feel like I've went all the way. I say that I went all the way around the world to figure out where I need to be. I feel like I can do a lot of stuff decent, but I've had to do everything to figure out, okay, this is what Fletcher does. This is what Fletcher does do and what he doesn't. And I think understanding who you are as an angler, just like you see in football, athletes, whatever, understanding who you are as a player helps you play the game because you have to play it to your strength. You know, Tom Brady's not going to just take a game where the rush defense is terrible and just start running the ball. You know, he's still a pro. So I kind of look at it that way. It takes time to learn yourself, learn the techniques, and then learn what you're good at and what you're not. And I feel like I've kind of finally, after 10 years, that's starting to happen. So good question. Sorry to give you a long answer, but
no, it's good stuff. All right, Ken.
Good answer. I was going to say, you know, as you kind of get away from the jack of all trades thing, Fletcher, and become more focused on the things you know are in your wheelhouse, have you given up any techniques and said, you know, I'm just not even going to have the parts to do this? I talked to Gary Klein some years ago and I asked him that question, and he said he did not even have the components of a Carolina rig in his boat. He would not do it. Is there anything like that for you?
It's pretty bad, Ken, in a lot of ways. I tell you, it was funny at Redcrest. I took about everything out of my boat because I knew I was going to flip. I was going to flip grass somewhere on that deal, so, you know, up the river or down, however it was going to work out. Pretty much I had straight flipping sticks and a chatterbait, you know, and I think a frog or, you know, just swim jigs, just dirt shallow, the stuff that I feel like when you understand something, man, you can capitalize on all the little intricate things. It's something you're kind of, I can throw a jerkbait well. I've had a lot of bass jerking, but I don't understand all the little nuances. Well, I saw him on my active target out there, the exact fish I'm pretty sure that Thrift jacked on to win the round. I saw him on active target, and I was like, dude, you don't even have a jerkbait in the boat, bro. Well, because I threw a jig out there to him, and they ain't moving. I'm like, I know they're bass. I know I can see the brush and the whole bit. And if I had a jerk plug, I could have jerked, you know. But so, yeah, it definitely – you live by things and you die by things, but I feel like no matter what, no one catches them every day in this game. Nobody. Kevin, Thrift even. I mean, no one catches them all the time. So it's a numbers game. If you play to your strengths all the time, and I'm 7, I don't know what my cuts are in MLF. I want to say I've only missed maybe 3 now, and now we're in our 3rd year. It's a numbers game. I'm never going to you're never going to make every cut. You're never going to, so you're definitely always going to have a downfall. And I would rather go down doing it my way than go down doing something else and let someone beat me doing what I should have been doing. So right or wrong, that's kind of where I'm at right now. It might change soon, but that's where it's at.
Yeah,
I like it. I think recognizing your strengths is important in no matter what you're doing, whether you're fishing or motocross or whatever. You got to know where your wheelhouse is and exploit that, and you got to try to expand your wheelhouse too, I guess. But I'm a fan. I think I haven't known Fletcher a long time, but I've known Fletcher basically since he became a full-time pro. And this guy is so good with his sponsors, so good with the fans. I'm a big fan of Fletcher Shryock.
Thank you, Ken. I appreciate that.
Not at all.
Right.
You want to share the experience that I cast on BTL right now?
Man, that's up to you.
You go.
What happened?
Hey, just so you know, I'm wearing sweatpants right now.
Okay, I'll set the stage, and Fletcher can.
I was told they were nice earlier because someone made a comment. I was like, yeah, well, and I thought about you. I'm like, here, Fletcher's wearing sweatpants doing interviews. You can't. Anyway, go ahead. Tell the story.
This must have been 2012 or something. 2011, 12, somewhere in there.
11, yep.
Okay, 11. Fletcher has just won on Norman. He's won the Open on Norman. He's coming to his first ICAST. And he's never been there before. And I bump into him, and I'm introduced to him, and I congratulate him on his Norman win. And Fletcher's such a nice guy. And he says to me, because I guess he realized I'm old, and maybe because I'm old, I know something.
I was a fan.
Well, that's very kind. But he says something like, hey, man, anything you might tell me, any tip you might offer to help me get some traction in this business, I would appreciate it. And Fletcher was dressed pretty shabbily that day. I'll compare him to, he looked like JT on one of the MLF broadcasts. I'm kidding, JT.
Chilling.
JT, I'm kidding. No, but Fletcher was there in flip-flops, and he had some kind of a ragged T-shirt on and some ragged shorts. Is that a fair statement, Fletcher?
Yeah, exactly to a T. I was just
from there.
I didn't think anyone knew who I was. I just wanted to see some tackles. Someone gave me some tickets to get, some passes again. I just wanted to see ICAST as a fan, But you helped me a lot that day, believe it or not. So.
But I knew. In addition to all those things, though, Fletcher needed some sponsors. He was trying to get some support out there, and I said, "Man, why are you dressed like you're homeless? Like you wandered into?"
Come on, it wasn't. Yeah.
But Fletcher. The only error I've ever seen Fletcher make in any sort of social or business situation, he asked me for my opinion, and that was a big mistake.
Not hardly. You've taught me a lot, man. I appreciate you.
No, but I've been such a Fletcher Shryock fan through the years. What this guy does, the relationship he has with his sponsors is so impressive. Win, lose, or draw, he is in contact with his sponsors and thanking them for all their support and keeping them updated on his activities and stuff like that. And I can tell you through the years that multiple of Fletcher's sponsors have mentioned to me all the great things he does as an ambassador for their brand and how he could write the textbook on how to be a pro staff angler. He's that good.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Ken. Thank you.
All right, great stuff. Great stuff. All right, what lake are you on tomorrow?
Sharon Harris.
All right, and nobody's been on it, right?
No, they're on it today. That's what I was saying when I was making the comment about being a little behind is the fact that they're already out there feeling it out, and I'm chilling, but.
Yeah. Can you watch? Is that against the rules? Can't watch.
It'd been nice if they'd let me go. Yeah, it is what it is. We're good. We're going to go.
Can you drive around the lake?
That's what I was thinking. It'd be nice just to but then again, I could see somebody. There's so many things with the way we do this format that makes even the little things challenging. So.
I mean, even in your truck. Is there anything that says that you can't drive physically
not when the event's going on? Just because if I roll over, if I'm specifically out there looking at the water, they're on the water, and I see Ott up the creek, and I'm driving up some little bridge way up in Timbuktu somewhere, and I see Ott back there, and I look on Score Tracker, and he's winning. We're not allowed to drive around and look at the water while he's going, which I've done a lot after the event. Water color and just different places on the lake because we don't have much practice. That's something that I don't think a lot of people really think about, but we have a day and a half. So it's not like, here it wasn't a big deal because the lakes aren't real big, but a lot of places it's hard to break down in a day and a half. It's maybe to expedite the process really fast, I feel.
Yeah. All right. That's interesting. That's some very interesting rules when it comes to making sure and trying. I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to level the playing field and trying to make it as simple as possible. So I get it. All right, man, here's the scoop, Fletcher. On Monday, we're going to have the winner on. Joe is going to hook us up with whoever is the winner of Heavy Hitters, and there's a possibility that you might be back on Monday. So we want to wish you the best of luck, an incredible day 2, and hopefully your momentum and everything that you have going on will continue for the remainder of the event, and then maybe we'll talk to you on Monday, man.
Let's talk on Monday. I like the sounds of that. Thank you guys so much for having me on. It's good to see you, Ken. Thanks so much, Mark.
Yeah.
Good luck, Fletcher. Tear them up.
See you guys again soon. So
best of luck. Hey, man, even if you don't make it on Monday, we'll get you back on BTL very soon, man.
Yeah, for sure. Just let me know anytime, Mark.
All right. Sounds good, man. Good luck.
Take care, guys. I'll see you.
All right. See ya. Bye. All right. There you have it. Fletcher Shryock. Good dude, man. And that's it. Dude, that's interesting. Can't even drive around the lake.
It's pretty tight. Yeah. You asked a great question earlier, Mark, about would he want to be on the water? You know, he's obviously got to take the free pass for having won the earlier round, but man.
Guaranteed money.
Yeah.
Guaranteed money, you know, like he said, but still, it's a shame that they miss out on that opportunity to win 50 grand. But at the same time, he's on championship day automatically. So you kind of balance that out, I guess.
Right. Yeah. It's a balancing act. And I know that time off the water is nice and they get to relax a little bit and organize and so forth. They get to do BTL.
Yeah.
I know Joe Opager and the folks at MLF keep them very busy on their off days. So it's a cool opportunity, but yeah, you wonder how much of a disadvantage it can be.
Yeah. All right. We'll see. Anyway, I mentioned it, folks. Yes, on Monday, if Ken's sitting in, we haven't got that far yet, but we will be interviewing the winner of Heavy Hitters on Monday. And then hopefully you have committed to this. I mentioned last night, hopefully we're going to have John Paul Morris, JP Morris, on the show Wednesday. That's about 85% done. It could be at a future date, but I'm working hard to get somebody on to represent who represents that brand and talk a lot about what's going on from the business side in the industry with a lot of questions that people have had. And let me ask you this, Ken, in diving into that subject just real quick as we wrap things up, have you remembered a previous year where pro staffs from a boat and motor standpoint have had so much turnover than what we've had from 2020 into 2021?
No, I think that's exactly right, Mark. I think there's been more turmoil in that part of the pro fishing world than ever before.
Yeah.
It's really interesting. A lot of guys have been left scrambling, and it's tough on them. You know, guys who have been with one or two brands for decades are now looking for a ride, and finding maybe a deal for 1 year, but not anything they can latch onto for the next year or long term. It's really tough out there.
Yeah. I want to ask you this, too. On last night's show, I kind of had a theme, and that theme was the word pressure. And the reason that I brought up pressure was this past weekend, man, you had the Masters, you had the bowling U.S. Open, you had the Elite Series, you had Heavy Hitters. There was an example of guys in pressure situations, of which, take the Masters, for example, the guy ended up winning, but you could tell the pressure was getting to him. The guy had a 6. The guy that was chasing him had a 6, a triple bogey on, I believe it was 16. Heck, the guy that won even had a bogey on the final hole. You know, he kind of cruised in there. But pressure makes some people not perform. I mean, it's a fact. And the ability for some of these anglers on both tours to handle pressure and your history over time following these guys, I have this question for you, Ken. Do you think that some guys just have walked away from this game because of pressure? What are your thoughts?
I don't know if anybody's walked away from the game because of pressure, but obviously some guys are better under pressure than others, and most of them kind of realize it. A lot of guys will tell themselves, oh, I'm good under pressure, when in fact all the evidence is that they are not. I've had some great conversations with Rick Klein through the years, and he had a line that he shared with me a long time ago that has always stuck with me. He said in his early days on the tour, before he even won his first Bassmaster Classic, he said, desperation was my friend. And you know, we're talking about a guy here who now obviously has made it one of the absolute greats of all time. But in those early days on the BASS tour, 74, 75, 76, before he won that classic, sometime he would go out on the road and if he didn't get a check at the event, he didn't have enough for gas money to get home. And he would have to stop at a friend's house and borrow some money or eat a meal there before he would head back home. And that kind of pressure, he said, was good for him. I know Marty Stone, you know, talk about MLF. Marty once told me that there were a few times in his career when he was getting ready to pack up, hitch the boat up and leave, when his wife said to him, you better catch him. And those would often be Marty's best tournaments. But that's not true for everybody. And a lot of guys have struggled under that pressure, and we know who some of them are, and we know that there will be many more of them in the future.
All right,
we can talk some names anytime you want to.
I've seen it in other sports. I've seen it in business, even the pressure that comes with a lot of occupations where some people just cannot handle those situations. And the total opposite too, Ken. I've seen guys and girls that thrive on the moment, that want the basketball in that pressure moment, that want to make that shot on the 18th tee and drive it right down the middle. The guy that wants to go out and catch 18 pounds on the final day and slam the door on everybody else. I think that if you can manage and thrive on those pressure situations, that you are mentally and physically going to be better than the other guys, obviously, that can't handle that situation.
No question about it. And a couple of the guys who I think are really the best at that, obviously Kevin Vandam is one of the legendary competitors in that situation. I've watched Kevin walk up to guys on the last day of a tournament. Maybe they were a little bit ahead of him, maybe they were a little bit behind him, but they were right there, and you knew that whoever had the best day that day was going to win the tournament. And I've watched Vandam walk up to those guys and say, "You better catch them today because I am going to wear them out," and just turn and walk away. Just turn and walk away. And Kevin's trying to get in their head, and in many cases he obviously did. Because I think he's about as good a closer as there's ever been. And Edwin Evers is an amazing closer too, but Edwin doesn't play the game quite that way. He's extraordinarily mentally tough, but he's not confrontationally tough in that manner. It's a really, really interesting question. And fishing is so different. You were queuing up the bowling thing there. Bowling, basketball, baseball, football, they're all really rigid clock sports. And bass fishing is less so. You might feel the pressure on one cast, but not feel it on the last. You might feel the pressure in one area, but not feel it in another. It's not that way in basketball. You've got to make sure the best guy has the best available shot in the closing seconds of a basketball game, because you will not get those seconds back. You will not have that opportunity again. It's not quite true in bass fishing. So I tend to think that the pressure in bass fishing is perhaps more manageable.
Well, I will say this. I'll put a little asterisk by the comment that you just made, because I think, unlike the other sports that you mentioned, I think the financial pressure that exists in bass fishing weighs a lot more on a lot of guys that go out there and take the risk and dive in. They don't just dip their toes in the pool. I mean, they're getting second mortgages. They're going out there with their own money. They're doing everything that they can to try and make this happen, even though they may have the ability. But over time, what I have witnessed, Ken, and you tell me if you've witnessed the same thing over the multiple years that you've covered this game, the financial pressure of this sport drives a lot of guys away.
Wow, you nailed it, man. That was something I didn't mention and didn't really consider, but you're absolutely right. It's the financial pressure is much more significant in the bass fishing world, even though these guys are playing for far less money than guys in the NBA or Major League Baseball or the NFL. Yeah. That because $25,000 or something like that is life-changing money in the bass fishing world, whereas $25,000 is a couple of minutes of LeBron James's day on the court.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, a number of comments on the instant feedback. This actually made national news. There was a kid, the bowling U.S. Open was on Fox this past weekend, and there was an 18-year-old kid who made the television finals. He bowled great, except his second match, he bowled terrible, but he did something that's only been done, I think, 4 times in the history of the game. And I'm going to cue it up now. Any idea what that is, Ken? There you see it right there.
No idea.
You see it?
Okay, he's got a 7-10 split.
Yeah, watch what happens. Let's see. Let me hit play. A lot of the national news, and they were mentioning it. So that's the dude that picked up the 7-10. So
that's very, very cool. Now, how many times have you picked up the 7-10 in competition?
One time. And, me and Matt, we get into arguments all the time about the luck conversation. There is no skill in that. That's luck. 100%. If anybody out there wants to argue that with me, feel free. The Sunline Hotline will be open sometime over the next 2-3 weeks. You can argue that point with me. But, it's just like randomly going down the bank when you have no pattern, no nothing. You got nothing in the live well. You see this one little twig where there's nothing else in this cove, and you throw that spinnerbait up there, and you're not Jason Christie, and you throw the spinnerbait up there, and you catch an 8.5 pounder.
It happens, thank God.
It does happen. Is that skill? Well, yeah, I'm sure there's a little bit of skill involved with everything that you're doing to make that decision to throw that spinnerbait at that one little bitty twig when you have nothing in the live well and you have nothing to go down from a pattern standpoint, and you're just like, what the heck? Boom, 8.5 pounder.
You call it luck. I call it insanity. And I have that disease in spades, Mark, because I can't tell you how many times through the decades that I wouldn't have anything in the live well. I wouldn't be doing very well, but I'm still chunking that spinnerbait at every little twig and branch and stump along the bank. And every time that spinnerbait comes by, I tense up just a little bit. Even though the last 1,000 casts, nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I guess, when you do the same thing over and over and you expect a different result, they say that's insanity. I'm stark raving mad.
Yeah. All right, real quick, and then we'll wrap things up. Top 3 spinnerbait professionals over the last 20 years. 20 years since I'm just going to say since the year 2000.
Well, I think you got to go Jason Christie.
Yep.
I guess you got to go Kevin Vandam.
Yes, I agree. Who's the third? I have stumped the king.
Well, I'm not. This is such an opinion-based question. I'm trying.
It is.
I almost wish you had asked me over the last 50 years, because I would have gone Jimmy Houston and I would have gone. I'm going to say Rick Klein is one of those guys in the last 20. He's on the short list anyway. He's got a massive reputation with square bills and shallow running crankbaits and jerkbaits, but Rick's awfully good with a spinnerbait. I've seen him in it from his boat do some amazing things with a spinnerbait. So who have you got on your list?
Yeah, definitely Christie, Vandam, and then somebody that. Dude, he's an absolute superstar. And I think he's got the reputation of throwing the jig more than anything else, but he is a master with a spinnerbait, and that's Greg Hackney.
Well, there's nothing Hackney doesn't do well.
Yeah.
I got to spend a day in the boat with Greg at Headwaters Lake here in Florida, which may be the best bass lake in the country right now. And that was a few weeks ago, about a month ago now. And I watched Greg take a flipping stick and just lay siege to some very tall and very thickly packed reeds, and it was eye-opening.
Dude, this may be kind of demented, but I actually like watching Jason Christie throw a spinnerbait even when he's not catching them. The way he can just place it, and even just flip it, that little underhand flip deal that he does. Yeah. He's the man. Yeah. And there's very, very few people in the bass fishing world that can do what Jason Christie does with a spinnerbait. And
no doubt,
it's unreal. All right, I want to thank Jason for taking time out. The dude was massively busy. You could kind of tell he was a little bit wore out, but he's got another blue trophy. And then I want to thank Fletcher Shryock for taking part in the second half of the show. And then also a big thanks to Joe Opager for helping us out, getting that interview set up, and all the support that Joe has for helping BTL and lining up guests from an MLF perspective. So good stuff. Ken Duke donating to the cause right there. Folks, don't forget, if you want to order some BTL merch, hats, hoodies, long sleeve, short sleeve, sweatshirts, decals, all that stuff to help out Matthew and his cause and his expenses to try and make the Elite Series. So check it out, basshone.com. Just click on the big banner that's on that page and help us out and look good while doing it. And folks, we're going to have more stuff on down the road. This is just a limited run. that we wanted to throw out there, see what the response was. And the T-shirt that is coming, all right, not on this run, it's going to say, my favorite color is 7. Do you know the scoop on that?
I don't, but I want to. Well, when you come out with the T-shirts and stuff, I want you to have some selections in green pumpkin, Mark. Come on.
Yeah. My favorite color is 7. No, real quick, when I came back, because of all the brain situation that I had going on, Matt thought I was going to get confused and mix colors with numbers and all that and everything, and he was going to ask me a question, and I was going to go, oh, my favorite color? 7. Instead of like blue or green or anything. Anyway, it kind of caught on with the fans. So yes, that T-shirt, cool. That T-shirt will definitely be coming out in the future. All right, tomorrow is Wednesday. Special guest host Miles Burkhoff. How about that?
Sonar in the house.
That's right. And then we're going to have Andy New come on, the guy that got it done on Grand Lake over 3 days. I said 4 days last night. I don't know why I said that. 3 days at Grand Lake. Missouri angler will discuss his win on a very, very crowded Grand Lake, but had over 50 pounds over 3 days and really kind of pulled away. We'll get his insight on how he won on Grand Lake. And then, Ken, you'll be back very soon. I don't know what day. Hopefully Monday and Wednesday next week. That's kind of the plan, if you can do Monday and Wednesday next week.
I will I'll take the schedule, Mark, but I'm going to do everything I can to be part of it if you'll have me.
All right. Monday, Wednesday, Ken Duke next week, folks, and we will keep you posted on all the other special guests. And don't forget, if you want to be in consideration to be a guest host on BTL, just click on the banner, fill out the form, and those forms will get submitted to me. I'll read them, and then hopefully I'll be in contact with you. So that's kind of the scoop. We will definitely do a Sunline Hotline show with Ken Duke maybe next week. We'll wait and see. And then obviously day 4 with Frank Scalish. Everybody loves that. So great show today. Thanks for pitch hitting once again, Ken, and we'll be back tomorrow.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
All right, that's it, folks. We're out of here.